Call the meeting to order, Tuesday, October 15th.
Roll call, Mike Joseph.
Here.
Dale Macklin.
Here.
Fran Hudson.
Here.
Adam Lint.
Here.
Lee Trahan.
Here.
And Jeff West.
Here.
Perfect. Is there any disclosures of conflicts of interest this evening?
Don't believe.
No? Okay, approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, September 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Being none.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
And Mike Joseph.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. The minutes from September 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Being none.
Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Mike Joseph.
Yes.
And Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Motion to approve minutes of September 23rd, 2024 passes 6-0. Under communications, we just have the pending charter review committee that was been tabled until after November 5th election. Reports of committees and commissions, the town manager's report.
Thank you, Audra. I'm going to give you a little brief update of the junior high. We've got that on the agenda, and Mike Joseph is going to cover that a little more in depth. Tomorrow, they're actually coming up, and we're going to do more test boring so we can find the scope of the soil contamination. We don't think it's that expanded. We've got 4 holes now, but we just want to get an idea on the volume. So that's happening tomorrow. As I've said in the past, Paul and his team are planning on doing the excavation work, and we're just going to have to haul it off. Exciting news on Chafee Brook. They have both lines in the river now. They're planning on covering that up tomorrow. They're also going to be connecting the Waterville side and then the Winslow side after that. So that project is finally tying down on phase 1, which has been a huge pain in our backside. So hopefully we're going to end up paying for that within the next week, and we'll have that part of the project done, and we'll start on phase 2. And as a reminder, what phase 2 is upgrading the pumping station, and we have a new generator that's coming for that. I want to thank Amanda McCaslin and her committee on the Fall Harvest Festival. I got a chance to spend about 3 hours there last Saturday, and it was well attended. I think it was a fun event. Everybody had a good time. The weather held off for us. We've been working with the Girl Scouts, and they are going to be planting bulbs around the gazebo by the municipal office. We're going to try to bring some flowers back to that equation. They're donating their time. They're getting the bulbs and annuals donated to them. So, and it's going to be something that they're going to own. So they're going to try to maintain that year after year, which is good. I've been working with Eric Lunt on a summer music series for next year. The stage, not going to get finished this year. Obviously, the time's running out on it. There's a backlog on his work. So what we're going to do is we want to utilize the gazebo by the municipal office for a summer music series. There's plenty of parking up there. It's all kinds of lawn for lawn chairs. The gazebo's fairly good size. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and make this next year all about youth. So the concerts are going to be about our younger musicians in the region, which is something different because all these other towns that are doing a music series, they're doing adult bands. So this is going to be promoting our young, and we have a lot of talent with these schools and stuff. So that should be fun. That's all I have.
Through the chair, I'd like to add on to the thing on the junior high. I got a hold of Greg today. He's been ill, and he was going to try to get you the information that he found. He was trying to get them out to you today. He said if he had a chance, but he was going out of state at this time, this afternoon.
Okay.
But he did say that he would have everything done by the first week of November.
That's perfect.
So I'll keep in touch with them since you haven't been able to.
If we can
touch
get
with them.
that contamination out of there,
Yeah.
he's claiming that's gonna run $120,000, then we can just pull the building down. And, but that's good.
I'll,
I'm looking forward to hearing from him.
All right, good enough.
There, I normally don't have a department report, but I'd like to share a bit, if it's okay. So most people are aware, we started absentee voting last Monday. And as of today, we have received 930 requests for absentee ballots that they've either come in and voted, they've electronically requested it, they've called us, they've come in and picked up their family members' ballots. We have had 462 of those returned. And just today, if I pull my report correctly, we've had 105 voters come into the building and vote absentee right there. So I just want to share that information. I have a great team of ladies that have been working with me and learning and making sure we get it all correct. So thank you to all of them. I just want to share those numbers with everyone.
Thank you, Audra.
Is there any other department?
Good evening, guys. I'm Garrett, Town of Winslow Code Enforcement Officer. So this actually marks my 6th month working for the Town of Winslow. I've loved every minute of it. I thank everybody for the opportunity to do so and for myself in the career. So I just want to kind of give an update of what's been going on in the Codes Corner so far this year for 2024. From January to now, we've gotten 374 permits that's been filed through the office. New homes being built and constructed and completed this year is 17 new homes. New businesses that's been coming to the town in the year of 2024 is 16 new businesses. And unsafe and hazardous areas that we've been able to clean up with myself and the compliance of the residents. We've cleaned up 7 properties, making them safe for residents to be around and the town to be safe. So that was pretty much all I wanted to report.
Can I
Thank you.
just add to that for just a second, through the chair? Garrett has done an outstanding job. He's come in with the energy of a younger person, and he's doing a good job. As a matter of fact, I talked with the planning board chair the other day and asked him what he thought. He says he's fantastic. So I just want to let you know that I'm really proud of his performance, and he's easy to work with. He fits in well with the town office, and he's doing, like I said, a good job. Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Garrett.
I think that's it for department heads here tonight. Do I have a motion to approve all reports as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Being none?
Adam Lind,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
and Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Motion to approve all minutes all reports as presented passes 6-0. And we have no tabled business or old business this evening. On to new business, ordinance number 11-2024, pursuant to 22 MRS Section 43051. The municipal officers hereby enact the attached Municipal General Assistance Ordinance with the appendices in its entirety. This is a public hearing.
Through the chair, is this coming from the state changing for more housing for people and
It's for
just
yeah.
assistance?
So for general assistance through the town, we are required to provide that, and they set a limit on what their income can be, what rent can be. And those are all in the 162 pages worth of ordinance. But the town's portion, it's increased, like your income maximum has increased by $64. It's $970, I think now, to be considered. If you're under that, you'd be considered in need for GA, along with some housing maximums.
Do they always set? that?
Every year. This is an every year occurrence that we have to do.
With that, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody that'd like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Any discussion? Oh, we're
We
gonna move
gotta-
it.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any discussion? It's not like we have a choice.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
and Adam Lynch.
Yes.
Motion to pass the municipal general assistance ordinance with appendices passes 6-0. On to discussion, the ambulance service and staffing. Fran asked this to be on the agenda.
And I've got Lenny McDade coming in.
I wanted to explain why I put it on. So I just, in the very beginning of being elected, which is almost coming up on a year, these are the things I worked on. And so I'm hoping that we all worked on, to get an update on how it's been going.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you for having me here, and I'll go through and then I'll read what I have for the fire and police, and then you can ask me any questions you have. So with the fire department, the first one, implementation of paramedics per diem.
We can't hear. I'm so sorry. I can't hear.
Yeah.
So the first thing was on the fire department, the implementation of the paramedics of the per diem. And I personally feel I've seen a night and day difference. The level of care and service with the per diem paramedics has been, it's hard to put into words. I mean, they're definitely the experts. They know what they're doing, and it makes a big difference. The good news is that we have firefighter Oliver and Chamberlain. Right now, they're going to school to be advanced EMTs. Our goal, long run, is to have our own paramedics and also use the per diem people. So we have two young firefighters working their way up. And Deputy Chief Murphy right now, he's on a waiting list to go to paramedic school, so that's really good news if we can get him in there. Financially, with the per diem program, we've only spent 16% so far this year. We're really in good standing. We spent $48,000 on the $288,000. So it is working financially. And Deputy Chief Murphy wanted me to pass on that as of January 1st, 2024 to October 10th, so basically the first 10 months of this year, there's only been 64 times when we couldn't get a per diem paramedic to work for us, which is 25% of the time, which is fantastic. In fact, Lisa Carey is one of the people that works the most for us. I want to commend her because she does a great job and she's always helping when we need her. So it really is working. They're here most of the time. I think in this month they filled every slot. So I think as time goes on, they're doing a real good job of recruiting more people, and I know we're adding a lot of call firefighters. Overall, the fire department financially is 25% spent, so we're definitely on track where we want to be. Some of the questions that you sent me today, you asked, has mutual aid for us cut down since utilizing our own paramedics? The intercepts have definitely gone down, and what that means is that when we have our own paramedics, we don't have to call Delta or Waterville to help us transport, and we're definitely cutting those down, which is saving us money. We do have two ambulances. We have three, but two ambulances once in a while do out at the same time. It seems to be more frequently now that we're sending two ambulances out because we're busy. Because Delta can't handle some of the surrounding towns, they're asking us to help, and the guys have did a real good job under mutual aid to run to Albion and other places and help out when they need to. Has the use of the ambulance service ever interfered with the staffing or having crews available for fire calls? What we try to do is when the ambulance goes out, we try to keep two people at the station so they can handle any other calls that comes in. I have not seen, or we haven't seen a situation where a fire call will come in and the ambulances were tied up so they couldn't help. The good thing is we have a real good mutual aid with other departments, Waterville, Fairfield around here, so if it ever get to the point where we did have two ambulances out, I'm sure they would all step up and help out. So I do think it's absolutely, right now, the ambulance service is financially feasible. If there's any extra cost to taxpayers, I really don't think it's any different than the police department or public works or any other department. This ambulance service is providing a service that's needed to this town, and there is a cost associated to it, which I'll send out. Well, you get forms once a month, but there is a cost. But I really think if you balance the service you're getting at this point versus the cost, I think it's well worth it. And I think most people in town, when they call the ambulance, they're getting the proper service. We're getting no complaints. In fact, Dr. Pay has nothing but good things to say about the ambulance service. So, I want to hand out these forms real quick, the financial part of it.
One for Jeff. Coming back.
He didn't run away.
Thank you, Laurie.
Hey, Bill, could you slide that closer?
So the first form, the first form is basically $2,024, and that's the accounts receivable, what the ending balance was that we owe, and that never ends. That's just money we're trying to collect. Into the auditors, they'll tell you every town goes through that, and then we end up writing some of it off. We really try our best to collect it all, and I think we do really reasonable compared to most towns. So that was for all of last year. If you go to the next page, we're talking this year from July of 2024 to the end of September, and that tells your accounts receivable. And like I said, that's not just for those 3 months, that is carried over. So we really haven't changed too much. We're carrying about the same amount of money on the books, which is normal. And I know the state is working on the state level to try to give the town some assistance and raise up the amount of money we can collect. So hopefully in the future it'll get better. The third sheet is to answer the transport summary, profit summary. The first one's from all last year, from July of 2023 to 2024. And even though we had a loss of $155,000, like I said, every department, there's a cost to providing that service, but I really think what we're gonna try to adjust this year might help it out, but I think overall, it hasn't changed too much over the last couple of years. And then if you go to the very last sheet, one of the things that seems promising is if you look till September, the total expenses for July was $53,000, for August was $50,000, and for September was $52,000. But the revenue was a lot higher in in September, and I'm being told that's because we're getting more calls right now. So when the revenue goes up and we have per diem people, we're not paying for the intercepts. So basically, the loss was only $14,000. So we're actually not losing as much money. And as we increase calls, which I see happening, as we get more calls from the ambulance service and with the help of the per diems, or someday when we get our own paramedics going, then I think we're gonna drop this down even less. So, and one of the things I wanna pose to you as counselors, and you can think about it because it's gonna be a council decision with the town manager. One of the things that Deputy Chief Murphy and Sherry has asked me to do is they'd like to try to revise this sheet, because when this sheet was done, basically with the full-time line that comes out, when we did that, it included three full-time people. And they're telling me now, their feeling, and I ran this by the town manager and we wanted to run it by you, their feeling is now with the new contract, we have 3 mandated people working all the time at the fire department per the contract. With the per diem person, if we can do it, and we're doing it most of the time, it gives us 4. They didn't think it was right to be taking out 3 full-time people versus 2. And I agree with that to that point, because you're only sending 2 people in the ambulance, you shouldn't be charging for 3. So that would drop this down, but I know there's been other things that people feel should be coming out of this that does not come out of this. So I just wanted you guys to think about that and give me an answer which way you want to go forward. So, and that would adjust the amount in the long run. One of the things I've been trying to do is I go up every day, because I'm definitely the dumb up there trying to learn the job. It's been well over a year now and I'm still learning. I'll be the first one to admit it, and I've had excellent people helping me out, trying to teach me stuff, and I'm learning stuff every day. But I actually make a point every day going up there and I have one of them show me something. Give you an example, last week I went out when they were doing drafting on the China Road, and they showed me how to do that. So I'm trying to learn more and more as time goes on, and it's been really a good learning experience. It's really complicated, just like the police department, but like I said, the firefighter's been great trying to teach me, and I'm learning more every day, so. Any questions about that at all with the financial part of it? Any questions with the
No,
ambulance service?
through the chair, I'd like to ask you something, Lenny. On our transfers, have we started the third ambulance and doing the transfer? Because I know we have the stretcher and we also have the chairlift, and that was, the people didn't have to pay for that because they got that through a grant
Grant,
through
absolutely,
the firemen that actually wrote up the grant, correct? Why haven't we started the transfers with a third one?
Yeah, you're correct. The ambulance is 100% set up at this point. What we're
Yeah.
doing is we're still looking into it. This is so complicated. I want to make sure when we give you the final amount of money that's going to cost, the final cost, I want to make sure you know ahead of time whether it's going to be a burden or not to the taxpayers. I believe at this point it's going to cost some money, but I'm not really sure. Mike spent a lot of time with Waterville and Fairfield looking into it, and I actually got a meeting this week with Augusta. And then we just heard about some new training today through, trying to think of his name.
Thorndike.
Yes, in Thorndike, so we're still gathering that. Our goal is to get going into it as soon as possible, but we're at the point now where, just like with the new councils, when you three came in, we made a decision, me and the town manager, to hold off so you guys have input on the third ambulance. I actually think it wouldn't be a bad idea to gather all the information, and when the new councils get in, have all you look at the information and see which way you want to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair, Lenny, I have just a question on your report, your fire report.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, yeah, was it yours? Anyway, the fire report. I read where the pie said mutual aid, there was 10 calls for an intercept for the ambulance, and 3 of them Delta did and 1 Waterville did. Who did the other 6? Did you just do it just because you were close to the hospital?
Mike's got a great rapport with Clinton, and he's got a great rapport with Fairfield, with Clinton, and what he's doing is actually he met with Delta, and they've been talking about whoever's closest, trying to get them, technically it's supposed to be Delta first, then Waterville second. We're trying to grab whoever's closest, if Clinton's closest, then we grab them.
Well, the numbers, I don't mean who's doing them. I mean, you only accounted for 4 intercepts out of 10. Who did the other 6?
Well, we're doing them ourselves. We're doing them ourselves if we don't have to have, if we have a per diem paramedic, we're running them ourselves.
I guess I'm just confused. The pie says 10 intercepts
Yeah.
for mutual aid were requested. 3 of them came for Waterville. 3 for Delta, 1 for Waterville. That leaves 6 requests for mutual aid of an intercept that were not done. Or did we just transport, you think, because it was so close to the hospital?
I'm assuming that's what they did, but I don't want to guess. I can get back to you with that answer.
Oh, they had to have, because you couldn't just leave them, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We'll get back to that with that answer,
Yep.
Fran.
Sure.
Anything else about the fire service? Any questions at all? Like I said, overall, I think the ambulance is working out great. I think everybody's motivated to get it to even work better, so. On the fire side, it's not as bright and shiny as the fire side's been. The police side's not as bright and shiny. So we hired 3 people this year. 2 of them are actually on the road, done the FTO program, and they're actually filling slots in a shift position. So one person did not complete his training, and he resigned, and he's looking at working someplace closer to where he lives. So we have 2 full fighters. Both those 2 police officers are actually slated to go to the academy in January. They have only a year to get to the academy.
Excuse me, through the chair, Lenny, so they haven't been to the academy yet?
No.
So they're still in training with another officer, or are they by themselves?
Once they complete the part-time, they're certified as a part-time police officer, which is a pretty extensive program, and they complete our 3-month FTO program, they can actually be on their own.
So they've been on 3 months already?
They've been working for quite a while on it by themselves. They work with the supervisor, but they're actually out there covering calls by themselves.
Okay. And do they have backup in the evenings?
Yes.
They do, okay.
They're what's referred to as a green pin. That means that they have powers of arrest, they can do the job. When they go to the academy, they get the blue pin, which is a full-blown police officer. So that they're definitely capable of doing their work now.
So in other words, their backup are coming from Winslow, not coming from the sheriff's department or anything like that?
No.
They are backed up by Winslow?
Yep.
Okay, that was my most concerned.
Lenny, are you guys, how many full-time slots is the police department allotted? Is it still 12?
It's 12, right.
And that's for your entire staff
That's
of
right.
officers?
And right now, we're down 3, but we have 3 real good people in the application process.
Oh.
The tough part is that, it takes a long time to get through the hiring process as a police officer by the time you take the psychological polygraph background, and then by the time they get to the point where they complete all their training, they're actually certified to cover calls, then you have to wait up to a year to get in the academy. It takes a long time. By the time someone's actually ready to go, it's a good year to 2 years.
But you're not getting any new hires that are already blue-pinned, is it, that you say?
No, we're not getting any certified officers. We talked to one officer that used to work here that was talking to the lieutenant, but it's just talk at this point, so. yeah. And I know every department around here is still down people. I know Hollowell, if you read about them in the paper, they're at the point where they're ready to close the doors. Waterville's down one. So everybody's down. They're still trying to find people. So you're actually at the point where you have to take people in with no training at all and put them through the whole process. And the sad thing is, even one of the new officers, because we're so short-handed still, we're having some burnout problems with some of the new police officers, which I think is, it's so overwhelming when you first start, all the demands on the job, but we're working with the new people and trying to keep them in place, so. Some of the other good stuff that's going on is, oh, and the other question you asked was, is the new cruiser on the road yet? Which it is. It's actually all equipped. It's got the new colors that Councilor Trahan wanted, so it's all ready to go and out there. We actually got the SRO vehicle. We had some extra money left over last year, so we painted the SRO vehicle to make it more compatible to the school, so it looks like an SRO vehicle. So we're getting all kinds of orange out there.
All right.
We're at with the police department also, we're in the final steps of accreditation. We're hoping our best to get that done by the end of the year, which will be a major endeavor for this department. Both police and fire, the public safety department, we're working on, we started back up after our summer break. We're back doing our joint training with police and fire. All the police department right now is trying to complete their mandated yearly training that we have to have by the end of the year. The police department financial right now is doing a little better than the fire department is. We're at 20% spent, but that's because we're down some people. Any questions about the police department at all?
There's still a lot of overtime going on, there must be.
Yes, there is. And then, like I said, my concern is burnout because the people are just tired. They're just tired, and we're all covering calls, and it's just, I don't know what the solution is. We're very lucky that we have a core bunch of police officers that have been here a long time, and they're a good bunch of people, and they, even though we lose some newer people, the older people seem to stay, and if we can get to the point where we're back at full staff, then what happens is you go from one person working during the day shift where you have, 2, maybe 3 people working during the day shift.
So everybody's overextended.
It's ridiculous at this point. Yep.
Lenny, how long has this been going on as far as the burnout has been? The last month, 2 months, 3 months?
It's been more than that.
Really?
We were at the point where we were only down 2 open slots, and then we had this person leave to get closer to his home.
When did he leave or she leave?
About a month ago.
About a month?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this burnout's actually started several months ago?
It's been going on for a while. I'm not so concerned about the older officers because they're seasoned and they've been dealing with it for a while, but the younger ones, they get overwhelmed because it's just, you're going from call to call to call. You come down to the police station anytime, you'll never see anybody watching TV, you'll never see me, they're just sitting there trying to pound out reports before they get another call.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see it ever getting better, to be honest with you, until something changes in law enforcement. They've made these jobs so difficult to get into with the training. The work is overwhelming with the amount of drugs that are out there. It's just, it's a very difficult job. And, I understand why police officers want to be firefighters. It's a better line of work.
Mr. Chairman,
They can't hear you.
Union contracts coming up.
For police.
Is it for
yes.
police?
Yes, sir.
Is the problem, Lenny, more pay or lack of applicants, lack of people who want to be police officers these days? I mean, if we really increase their pay, will that bring in more applicants?
What the pay does is it keeps you competitive with other police departments. When I look at what people make for pay today, doing this 35 years, I'm actually shocked. But then again, when you look at what people are getting paid today, because I'm an old timer at this point, we have to keep competitive with what other agencies are doing, you won't get anybody. So it's a twofold question. You have to keep competitive with the pay, but it's also that nobody really wants to do the job because it's so demanding today. And the firefighter, that's a demanding job too. It's just that I see with the fire department, there seems to be more, I don't know what I want to call it. They seem to pull each other together better. So I don't, that's probably not the right word. I'll have to think about it, but we're not working, they work more by themselves, the police department, than the fire department does.
Through the chair. Plus, we just increased the starting pay with absolutely no experience to $30 an hour. So I
Yes,
don't know how
34.
much more money you could really offer.
I think that's very
Clearly, they
competitive,
don't
the starting
care
pay.
about the money, right?
Yeah, I think the competitive, starting pay is competitive. I think we gotta take a look at, the big thing I hear the complaint is that the step increases, our step increases are a 20-year expansion. They wanna go to, a lot of departments are down to 7 years when you max out.
And because of that increase, we're actually attracting candidates to come in, new candidates. It's a good pay. But everybody's fighting to hijack another police officer from another department. That's happening all the time. We just lost Craig, because he was hijacked out of here. So it just, we're trying to hijack somebody from another department. And that's the name of the game. And unfortunately, that's when it comes down to the dollar bill. It depends on how much we want to spend on our police services. And that's why I started talking way back, regionalization. We've got to start looking at ways of grouping these towns up to solve this issue.
Anyone else?
Jeff?
Oh, sorry, Steve.
This is a good time. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
The question is for you, sir, but
You wanna-
Steve Susi, Sam Street. So it was a great discussion and great information tonight, and I appreciate that. In going through tonight's packet, looking at Deputy Chief Wing's report, it talks about, and you didn't mention this, but it talks about the closing of the dispatch center for the police department. So I was wondering, if we're discussing a lot of burnout with the police officers, I'm just wondering how or where that comes into play with regard to town safety, police safety. How does that impact the police department? I think it's a pretty significant position. That was kind of glanced over.
Do you wanna start and have me, you want me to go first and you jump in?
No, I don't have a problem issue in this, addressing this. One of my major jobs is the budget, okay? And we have a redundant situation where we're paying the city of Waterville $163,000 for dispatching services. This is 24/7 dispatch. Our fire department, since the beginning of its inception, we don't have a dispatcher over there. The police department can function in the same way. We're working right now to make the situation smooth. I mean, the biggest concern that I had when we started talking about this was walk-ins. What do we do with walk-ins? And so we're working through that now, trying to get that all figured out. The other issue was some of the paperwork that our dispatcher took care of. That's been disseminated amongst the leadership within the police department. This is something that's been taking place across the state of Maine with these middle-sized towns. Regionalization is the name of the game. We have regionalization with the city of Waterville's dispatch center. By utilizing them, allows us to stop spending money. We're currently paying $70,000 a year to support having a dispatcher there during daytime hours. The way those hours worked out, it was 9:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night. A lot of the time was missed when the walk-ins were coming in. When I took this job, I've been looking at 6 positions in the town of Winslow as far as cutting back. I mean, we just unfunded 3 firefighter positions to save taxpayer money. And we've now eliminated a dispatch in the police department. I have 2 other positions that I'm looking at, and I'm giving it a little bit more time. I don't want your property taxes to go up any more than you want them to go up. I pay property taxes, and it's the bill I don't like paying. This is what my job is to cut cost of operations, and we have to look at efficiencies. It's no different than when we walk into Hannaford, or if we walk into Walmart and we do self-checkouts. No different than pumping our own gas now. We have to get smart about how we spend tax dollar monies, and this is one of the areas that we have to look at. And I have looked at, and I pulled the trigger on it.
And just to add that, not that I would ever take any credit away from a dispatcher, but if you have to weigh the job that a dispatcher does, answering the phone versus having a firefighter or a police officer that actually goes out and handles the call, we really need to concentrate our money on where it's most needed. And the person that goes out and responds and handles the call is much more valuable, especially in this day and age with communications the way they are. Years ago, communications were rough, but now everybody, even people that are on low income, are given cell phones, free cell phones. So if there's an emergency, no one ever walks into our door. What they do is they pick up their cell phone and they call 911, which we weren't even handling the emergency 911 calls. They were going to Waterville. We were handling just the basic calls, and we weren't handling them at the most serious times of the day. So it was really a waste of, it was a good service to have, but if we need to cut back on money, I really don't think we're going to see any difference at all. So.
Through the chair. I have a question. Now, we're having burnouts because they're overloaded, but could you tell me and explain to me what the dispatcher's position as far as what that person has to do? Or what are all of the chores that she has to do, or I should say, or is it all just from concealed weapons permits?
Yeah, we had that all written down.
You did.
Yep. Okay, so Deputy Chief Wing put this together because we thought about this long and hard before we did this. This wasn't something we shot from the hip and did.
This is a conversation that's been taking place since last March.
So he broke it down to answering phone calls, create calls for service, dispatch calls, running SBIs, triple Is, ATNs, which is stuff you people wouldn't understand, but that's all can easily be picked up by Waterville Communications, so there'll be no lapse there. The other jobs, she had some administrative duties, some paperwork, and that's the rest of the stuff. Concealed weapons permits, FOIA requests, doing some scanning paperwork to go down to the dispatch, DA's office, upload cases. Now we have Deputy Chief Wing handling all those. Mental health reports to NAMI, UCR and NIVA's reports. Overdoses are going to be tracked by the lieutenant. And it goes all the way down. Everything's being picked up by other people. And what we found out is that when we took all these other services that the most important thing a dispatcher does is pick up the phone. And we found the majority of the calls were going over to Waterville, the emergency ones. The other most important things they do is the walk-ins, and like the town manager said, we're working on so that we can make that easy when they come in, but it's no different than what the fire department does. So the only other thing is these jobs, these paperwork jobs, and they don't take that long. It's not something that needs to be done all the time. It's stuff that can be done, and it was taking, I know when there was a lapse when we didn't have anybody in there for a period of time, it was taking most times us 15, 20 minutes in the morning to do the paperwork. So we just didn't, we couldn't justify having someone there for 8 hours a day when it was taking 15, 20 minutes to do the paperwork other than answer the phone calls.
Okay. These reports, do they have to be reported to the state and, for arrest or anything that the police are investigating? Does that have to be reported to the state as well?
We have reports that go to the state, UCR reports, but I mean, like I said, all those things will be taken care of.
by the individual police officer? Is that what it's?
We're all doing it. We all have certain things we have to do. Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at saying, well, you're talking about burnout. I says, is this part of the burnout since we've been doing this since March,
So,
Ellen?
yeah, the burnout's actually coming from the physical reports. If they make an arrest or if they're involved in a drug case or something, there has to be a report that's generated for that. And these officers are handling more and more of these calls because there's few of them. They're working more overtime, more shifts. So if you work a shift, you might get 3 or 4 reports in a day. That's where the burnout's coming from. The stuff that the dispatcher handled is being disseminated primarily with the deputy chief, who's in and around. Some of it's going to the director, and some of it's going to Brad, the lieutenant. So we've worked this process out. Mike, it's about getting efficient so we can save money. This is another money situation, and this is what makes these towns crank. I mean, unfortunately, the cost of operations, the largest part of it's payroll. And if you're not willing to make hard decisions on payroll, then we're making a mistake. I mean, our cost of operation is going to go up every single year. It's not going to go down unless you start making it go down. And that's what my job is, and that's what I'm trying to do here.
So are we looking at fire administrative assistant and public works administrative assistants?
Fire is done for now, okay? I'm not touching fire. I mean, I'm not going into fire and monkeying with that. We've unfunded 3 positions. I'm not going to share where I'm looking right now because I don't want to scare people. And that's why I didn't say anything about this last position.
Eller, I have a question. The PSAP is the only reason we pay Waterville Com.
No,
That's-
we pay Waterville Com for dispatching
The
fire
911
and
calls.
Waterville. And Waterville, they handle calls.
Waterville, right, but we
Night
are
calls.
paying for the PSAP service,
PSAP
911 service.
PSAP is now part of the Waterville
Right,
process.
and that's what we're paying them for.
Right, PSAP and dispatch services.
Right, so when
PSAP's about 30,000 a year.
we were not paying them for 24 hours a day, or you,
Yes, we
because
were.
you had a dispatcher
Yep,
answer
that
the
contract,
phones.
the MOU that we have with the city of Waterville covers 24-hour day dispatching for both fire and police.
Then why would you have kept a dispatcher at all?
It's a good question.
I questioned that when I got here. One of the first things I did when I got here under the last dispatcher was, I said, what's an administrative assistant? And she told me what she did. I said, I can do those jobs myself. And what I mean is telling the chief when he has a meeting, writing on my calendar. I'm a big boy, I can, so some of the stuff that was done was just ridiculous. I stopped like 70% of it, but there was still some stuff that was just, and you're correct, some of the stuff was ridiculous.
So what we're paying for, though, is the 911 calls through Waterville Com. If I call and say, could I speak to Officer so-and-so, I had something I needed to talk to him about, that's extra.
No, it's not.
No.
There's nothing extra?
No. We sign an MOU with the city of Waterville for dispatch services. The price includes our PSAP, and it includes all the dispatch services for our fire department and our police department, if needed. We're recovering an 8-hour shift with our own dispatcher at the cost of the taxpayers, above and beyond what we're paying. Waterville's bill is $163,000 a year. So, and we've already checked this with them because we wanted to make sure that if we eliminated this position in our police department, is our cost going to go up? The answer is no.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
The administrative work, though, that's got to be a lot of work.
It's not as much as you think it is. I think somebody had told me it was 15 minutes a day.
That's what normal was, 15 to 20 minutes a day is what it was taking. There's other days when you get more weapons permits, so you get more reports, but it's you know.
There's a lot of walking around and visiting, and I mean, the dispatch down there gets bored. I mean, we had a dispatcher before and she read books. I'm sorry, but if somebody's reading a book on my watch, that's not gonna happen. They're not working hard enough.
And I think there's a lot of knowledgeable people in this town. I've already been told, I won't share it, but I've been told by other council and other people, the real reason why the dispatch center was set up in the police department years ago. I think if you start asking that question, you'll get the answer, which isn't needed anymore today, so.
It's what?
The reason it was set up originally isn't needed anymore, so.
how long has it been going on, having a dispatch center in
100
Winslow?
years. It's been forever.
Yeah.
I mean, because Sharon
Sharon DeVoe.
DeVoe, but that, back then when that started, a lot of the officers didn't do their own reports. They dictated. And that's, and Dana, you might, I saw you, there you are. Isn't that pretty much how it started?
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
But I mean, as far as how it, or the reason for it was, the officers most times didn't write their own reports. That's how it was explained to me years ago.
The thing is, what we have to understand, we have to make hard decisions sometimes. You know, as much as this, you know, it's tough, but that's what our jobs are.
Why didn't it come up during budget season?
Because I don't want to scare people. I mean, if I do this again 2 more times, nobody's going to know about it until I pull the trigger. You know, and then we can discuss it just like we are right now.
Can you go to the microphone so everyone can hear you? Thank you.
I guess maybe Officer McDade can answer this. Brenda Lint, Abbott Road. If this has been an issue that Ella said you've been investigating since March, which was pre-budget, why wasn't this something pulled out of the budget at that time, Mr. McDade,
Well,
Officer McDade?
What Lenny had
Excuse me,
mentioned was
excuse
we
me,
had-
I'd like to
okay.
address that to Officer McDade. If that's been a concern, when we reviewed the budget, why didn't someone come up and say, geez, we can save $70,000 here?
We talked about everything during the budget time, and at that time, there was other things we were more worried about trying to do, but you're right, this has been a concern.
Lenny, can you talk closer to the microphone? Sorry.
Oops.
We did talk about it during that time, but it wasn't our most serious concern, so we put it on the back burner, but we've been talking about it for a long time.
So from March until October, when Ella pulled the plug on that,
Right.
it has become important, and we've pulled the money out for that.
Can I speak to that just for a second? We had a period of time, I think it was several weeks, where we didn't have a dispatcher in that building, and that was able to give us a good, solid test run to see how it was gonna work. The other issue that we got coming down is labor negotiations with our police department, and that's going to cost us some money. So this is freeing up a little bit of funding to help support that. So it came to the point where I could have kicked it down until next budget season, but decided that with the labor negotiations coming, with the cost it's costing for police officers, that this made sense to do it now.
Okay, so as push comes to shove, excuse me, and we need money, then
It's
we'll
always
start
about money.
eliminating.
It's always about money.
It's always about money. Okay, great, thank you.
We all set to move on?
Okay.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you.
Mike, did you want to
Thank you,
add
Lenny.
anything to that one, or are we good with, for now?
No, I'm good for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Fran, we're back to you.
So
Thank you.
I just want to make
Oh,
sure
sorry.
we've discussed, we went from the ambulance and police, the ambulance services, we've done the police department and the staffing. We've already talked about the junior high updates, so we're good with that.
We're good with that for now?
And now we're
Do we
on
have
to
more?
KV cap transportation.
Again, it's been almost a year since well, a little less than that, but that Ella and I have put this together. I want to make sure everyone knows it's Ella and I, it's not just me. I've had a conversation with the director of KV Cap. Our numbers have been very low for 3 months. It's only averaging about, he said in the beginning to Ella and myself, it was 40 rides per month. If you add that to the $10,000 contract, that equals out to over $290 a ride. So clearly, it's not making a lot of sense. So I had a meeting with the director, Kirk Bellavance, and he said the numbers are actually double that. That by the time we got the numbers, they weren't correct. It's still way below where it should be, so it doesn't really.
Well, that's encouraging.
It is encouraging that it is double that, absolutely. He mentioned one of the issues is they never did any marketing on this service. They never did any marketing on the service, so that means nobody knew about it except what we were trying to get out there. Plans on doing extensive marketing within the next 2 weeks. the types of services they have there, because some people were contacting me, telling me that they weren't getting the rides they requested, they were late, they were told no. There's a big confusion. What people need to understand is, when you call KV Cap for a ride, there's actually two different kinds of rides. There's a ride you can get that Medicaid pays for. Then there's a ride you can get, which is called general transportation. So if you're calling for that $3 ride, call it general transportation. When you call up, they should never be asking you what your income is, what your insurance is. If they're asking you questions like that, you're asking for the wrong service. So make sure you're asking for general transportation. They only operate Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the Winslow area right now between the hours of 8:30 and 4. Again, I can't clarify enough. Make sure you're asking for the general transportation. I'll put some information, or I'll ask if the town would put out some information on their webpage again for people. It's very, very, very important to utilize this service and not lose it. And you can use this service to go anywhere. You can go to the movies, you can go for recreational activities, you can go to lunch, you can go shopping, you can go to work. If you need a ride to work, to and from work, you can use this service as well for $3 each way. So I can't express how important it is for the people that need it, for others to reach out and try using it, get the word out. And if anybody has any issues not getting a ride, I've reached out to all the counselors and gave them packets on all the information for utilizing this service. So contact your town counselor, contact myself or any town counselor you'd like to, contact Ella, sorry Ella, and see if we can't get these numbers a lot bigger so that we can continue to use it for the next year. We're good now till June. So after that, we'd have to take a second look to see if it's actually worth the money for the contract, or if we can get a deal with it, which I think we'd have a good chance to do. So anyway, again, any help with getting the word out helps everybody. And that's about all I have.
Thank you, Fran.
I have a question through the chair. What kind of marketing are we doing to get this here exposed even more so with the public?
Well, we're not doing any marketing
No, I mean,
except
what are they doing?
Oh, I don't know what they're going to do, but he told me that within the next 2 weeks, they're gonna start extensive marketing. Like I said, they haven't done any marketing on it. Nobody even knows about
No.
general transportation.
Okay, thank you.
I sent a pretty heavy email to him because I was concerned about the numbers that Fran was talking about, and I copied Fran on it, and I asked him for his response, and he called me up. He was rather excited. He does not want to lose the town of Winslow. The other thing I want to add to that, public transportation is critical in these towns, and if we have an opportunity to buy into this, even at $10,000 a year, it's a bargain because, like Fran said, this is her deal. And, I mean, these people that don't have driver's license, that don't have vehicles, and they have an opportunity to get a ride, it's important. So I really support this, and I think that if they can put a little bit more effort into their end of it, and we can get these numbers up, I think it's going to be beneficial.
Okay, thank you.
Why is it only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday?
I think it's because it's new. I think it's because it's new. All the Waterville and other areas, it's Monday through Friday.
Right.
So, and that's true too. Our numbers may go up if they offered it 5. That's a good point. So I definitely would I will mention that to him.
Good
Because more exposure or more days available may increase our numbers as well. You're right. Thank
Louis,
you.
they're looking for volunteer drivers too.
Oh,
If you're
absolutely.
interested. They're paying mileage.
I drive a Zamboni, and that's it.
Think of it as a Zamboni with a passenger on the back. Thank you, Frank.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, on to public comment. I will read my statement. Any person wishing to verbally address the council on any matter before it may do so, providing permission is first obtained from the council chair. Each person addressing the council shall stand and give the person's name and address in an audible tone of voice for the record, and shall limit remarks to the time allotted, which is 3 minutes, by the council chair. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. No person other than the council and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a counselor, without the permission of the council chair. No question shall be asked a counselor except through the council chair. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks who shall become boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith, by the council chair, barred from further audience before the council, unless permission to continue is granted by the majority vote of the council. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
Louis Bourgeois, Abbott Road, Winslow. I'd just like to know, is there anybody at the police department all day? Is somebody there all the time? Or are they out on the road, or, because I've gone there a couple times and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, couldn't get in. I think you were there one time.
Yeah, so when I mentioned that we're working through this issue with nobody there for walk-ins, currently the way the system is set up, there's an outside phone. And if you pick up that outside phone, it automatically rings the Waterville dispatch, and they notify as a police officer that you're out there. So what we're gonna do is we're going to unlock that lobby door, and we're gonna secure that space a little bit better. And when that door opens, the bell goes off inside that police department, so if anybody is inside, they'll come out, they know. We've already talked about that. The next thing we're doing is we're gonna install another one of those phones inside that lobby. And we're gonna make it so in their face they can't miss it. So when they go in, they pick up the phone. If there's somebody inside, they'll come out and meet with them. Or if not, then Waterville Dispatch will have an officer come off the road, which would be the same process. So instead of having somebody there face to face with you, you're gonna have the phone to request somebody to come meet with you. That's where we're working on this right now.
Through the chair, so is this going to be available right straight through 24 hours?
No, it's gonna be available during the daylight hours. We haven't really talked about that, if we're gonna go 24/7 on that or not.
Like I said, 90% of people use their cell phones anyways.
Yeah.
A few people come in.
We don't ever have walk-ins anyways at night because there's no dispatcher there. So we'll probably start off at least with the dispatch hours where people can walk in inside that room and pick up the phone and ask for somebody.
And what hours are those? Are that from 8 to 4?
Well, typically, what is it, 7:30 to,
Yeah, we get there at 7, probably 7 to 5.
yeah, 7 to
7 to
5,
5?
something like that.
Most people come in the lobby, to be honest with you, with the drug take-back box. And we have to have it inside because it has to be locked up. But probably 70% of the people that come in, they drop their drug. It's older people bringing their medication.
Okay, so you said 7 to 5?
Yes, probably 7 to 5, yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we get the phone set up, like she's talking about.
You remember when every time we bought gas, somebody pumped it for us? And how much it upset us when we had to get out of the car and start pumping our own gas? This is where we're at.
So I got a question, Steve Joseph, I got a question myself. Non-emergency calls, where do we call?
You call a regular police department number just as you would in the past. Waterville Dispatch will pick up that call.
So what I'm trying to say is I don't want people calling 911 for nothing.
No, they
would
don't have
just
to call.
clarify
If they
it.
call the Winslow Police Department, there's going to be a dispatcher that's going to answer that phone.
Okay.
She just might not be located at Winslow. Or he.
Dana Mitchell, Simpson Avenue, through the chair to the town manager. These new candidates that come in for the police department and the fire department, when they're sent to school to get their blue pin and the paramedics, do they have a commitment to the town of Winslow to stay?
So the
Because
way-
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, so usually what happens on that is if somebody goes to the academy and we put them through the academy, and they decide after they graduate, they're gonna leave to another town, that town has to pay the town of Winslow $50,000 for the first year. So that covers the cost of us hiring overtime to fill that position, and it covers the cost of any academy fees and uniforms that we have to buy. That in itself, it's actually on a de-escalating scale. So year 2 would be less money, year 3 would be less money, all the way up to 5 years. So it's That's the risk we all have with police officers right now, because if you got a good cop and they're doing a good job, every police department in the region wants that person. And in some of these larger departments, like state police, they have the deep pockets to be able to pay the 50,000 or whatever out and get that person.
Now, as far as the paramedic going to school, does the fireman have a commitment to the town of Winslow for
I don't
us
believe
putting
so.
them?
No.
Now, if he
Can you
goes
speak to
some,
that?
Well, back in the day, it didn't cost that much money, but, I don't have a contract with anybody to stay any place a certain time, and I don't believe there's anybody hired in Winslow right now that got their paramedic license through Winslow, so all the per diem medics are per diem medics.
Thank you, Lisa.
if I can remember correctly, a while back, we had a paramedic go through the program in the town, and he went to Gardner.
That's a risk we take. I don't think it's practice in the fire department world. Usually you don't lose firefighters that much. I mean, cops are the ones that migrate. Firefighters, they get comfortable in a place and they'll stay there for the most part. But firefighters are great people. I love them.
Sometimes in other businesses, like when I used to work for an ambulance service, we would send staff, we would pay 50% upon completion, and after they've been there so long, we pay their other 50%. We never paid it up front, just for the reasons you're stating. And then other times you can make them, we will pay it all up front for you, but you have to sign a contract to stay for at least 2 years.
Lenny can look into that. I've
We
never heard of that
actually-
happening.
We actually did that
Oh, we did? Okay,
at one point for paramedics.
okay.
And one of them left, and I believe Bill collected the money that he owed us,
Yes.
because he did sign a contract.
Well, maybe that's an option for us then.
I think you should look into that.
And I had an attorney who told me it was against the law, people have a right to work where they want to work, so I was told I couldn't do that when I looked into it. So it wasn't by you, Bill, it was somebody else.
I think it depends if you're paying. If the company's paying for you to go do something for them, I'm sure you can reimburse.
What happened in the one instance, there was an agreement to stay a certain period of time, and if the person did not, I think it was prorated on the person would have to repay the town. Shortly after that person became licensed as a paramedic, that person jumped to another department, and ultimately the other department paid us what that person's obligation was. So we did collect.
And this is where the state's behind the 8 ball. Because they should be doing the same thing with firefighters they do with the police.
Right.
I have another question for you. I
Just
heard that
3 minutes is up.
Well, he didn't
other
get to
police
talk.
departments
He
are
didn't get to talk.
are
I'm just
giving
making my-
bonuses for these people to come. Is Winslow doing that?
We've given retention bonuses before my time, and that's still in place with the people who've been here. I am not a fan of bonuses. You know, if we're gonna give a $6,000, $10,000, I've heard them up to $15,000, they'll cut somebody to come in. And if we're gonna do that, just give it to them in a paycheck. I'm just not a fan of that.
So that's
That-
not
that's how
happening here
desperate-
in town.
No,
what you're
that's
saying.
how desperate towns are for
Well,
cops right now.
Portland is,
Portland, Lewiston. I mean, these guys are battlegrounds, you know, it's open warfare in these towns.
oh, okay, thank you. By the way, you're doing a very good job.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lisa Carey, China Road. I just have a question. With the light at the bottom of the hill where they're doing the construction, is there a way to, like, speed up the process? Like, maybe put Benton Avenue and Bay Street on the same green light, since nobody's turning left to go to the bridge, and put the bridge and the hill on the same light with just a blinking yellow light, like we have at Carter Memorial?
I'll talk to Paul about it, Lisa. We have gotten a boatload of complaints on that light over there because of it. Chimbro actually controls that construction zone that you're talking about, and they are like, it's like pulling teeth out of them to get
Okay.
them to change anything. But I will mention it to Paul again.
Yeah, it would just make things go by faster, especially when you're
Right.
sitting there at
Oh,
2
I
o'clock
know.
in the morning for the light to make the circle, and there's nobody else at the circle.
All you gotta do is flip those red lights on and go.
Anyone else? Being nobody, we'll close the comment section.
Okay, on to executive session. A motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 40596E.
It's just 405,
Oh, sorry, 405?
6E, no 9,
405, oh, sorry, thank you, 6.
in regards to a land use matter.
In regards to land use matter.
Thank you all.
Thank
Do I
you,
have a
guys.
motion?
Thank you, Steve.
So moved.
Second.
Secondly,
See you later, Louis.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
So motion to enter an executive session, MRSA subsection 4056E, land use matter passes 6-0.